Hi, welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap who made the NBA All-Star team, reserves, recap what went on in the NBA last night, do my picks for the nationally televised games between tomorrow and Thursday, and same for college basketball, and a certain NBA coaching move, and a court case that just went down. Let's start with the NBA All-Stars. Eastern Conference, I'll go through the starters and the reserves. The starters for the East are Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. I correctly predicted all 5 of those starters. The reserves, Kyle Lowry, Bradley Beal, John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Kevin Love, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford. Where I whiffed was, I said that I thought Andre Drummond would get in. I was wrong about Al Horford. With that case is that they rewarded Horford for the Celtics' success, and I thought that Drummond had gotten snubbed because he's having a career year. The Western Conference starters, Stephen Curry, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins, and I got those 5 starters correct as well. The reserves, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Russell Westbrook, LaMarcus Aldridge, Draymond Green, and Karl Anthony Towns. Where I whiffed was that I did not pick Draymond Green. Instead, I picked Paul George. Draymond Green got in for the same reason as Al Horford, team success, and I think Paul George, who's having a great season for Oklahoma City, gotten snubbed. NBA recap from last night. The San Antonio Spurs defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers by a score of 114-102 amid all the turmoil between, let's face it, both teams. Like, there's stuff going on with Kawhi Leonard and his injury, and Jalen Rose saying on ESPN that Kawhi wants out of San Antonio, and then from Cleveland's side, they had the meeting, and it was emotional, and fingers were pointing at Kevin Love, and then Kevin Love was apparently sick, and a lot of drama going on in Cleveland, and there's a possibility of a George Hill trade, and that Channing Frye and Iman Shumpert could be going to Sacramento in that potential deal that was reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski and Brian Windhorst. That deal is not a done deal yet, but it's rumored to happen. Cleveland is now 27-19. San Antonio improves to 31-18. LeBron put up 28. LaMarcus Aldridge put up 30 in that game. The Lakers beat the Celtics 108-107, and the Celtics have now lost 4 straight, and their record has dropped to 34-14. The Lakers go to 18-29. Kyrie Irving excellent for Boston with 33 points. Kyle Kuzma excellent for Los Angeles with 28 points. Picks for tonight. The ESPN doubleheader, you have the Dallas Mavericks hosting the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are just way better than the Mavericks, and I think they win. And not only do I think they'll win, they'll cover that 6.5-point spread. Give me 113-100 Houston in that game. The Celtics are on national TV yet again for the second night in a row in Staples Center, except they're playing the Clippers, not the Lakers. I think the Celtics lose their 5th straight here. The Clippers are playing really well right now. Nothing against the Celtics. I just like how the Clippers have been playing lately, despite losing to the Timberwolves the other night. Blake Griffin's been excellent. Give me 105-101 Clippers, and that means the Clippers will cover the 1.5-point spread. Tomorrow night on TNT, they are announcing the All-Star teams. They're drafting the All-Star teams. LeBron James and Stephen Curry are the captains because they won the fan voting. They'll pick the teams tomorrow night. And the TNT doubleheader is Oklahoma City hosting the Wizards of Washington, D.C. Give me Oklahoma City at home. They're just better than the Wizards. 120-105. Oklahoma City easily covers the 5.5. The Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Golden State Warriors from Oracle Arena. There's no point spread here, mainly because Jimmy Butler's status is unknown. And because of that, even if Butler played, I'd still pick Golden State. Give me the Warriors 123-111. And I'm going to say that Durant and Curry go nuts. And Karl Anthony Towns will keep the Warriors in it for 3 quarters, kind of like how the shorthanded Knicks last night kept the hung around in that game for a little while. I think I could see a similar scenario here with the Timberwolves, even though they don't have Jimmy Butler. College hoops. Some interesting results I'd like to get to you from Monday and Tuesday. We'll start Monday. And I'll go through my picks as well. Virginia Tech upset North Carolina by a score of 80-69, as I predicted on this podcast. Virginia Tech improves to 14-6, and UNC drops to 16-5. Luke May put up 23 for Carolina, and Justin Robinson put up 19 for Virginia Tech. UNC is probably going to drop in the rankings next week. They're number 10 right now. Virginia Tech making an at-large case. As I predicted on this podcast, Indiana upset Maryland by a score of 71-68. This hurts Maryland's at-large chances as they drop to 15-7. Indiana improves to 12-8. Juwan Morgan of Indiana put up 25, and Anthony Cohen of Maryland put up 18. Texas beat Iowa State by a score of 73-57, as I predicted. Texas improves to 13-7. Iowa State drops to 11-8. I think Texas is still in the mix for an at-large. We'll see with Iowa State, depending on how other bubble teams do. But I think Iowa State's heading to the NIT. It's funny because my last podcast, or was it 2 podcasts ago, I said there's a chance that the Big 12 there's like a puncher's chance that all 10 Big 12 teams get in the tournament. But I made that case because there's some times where the bottom teams of that conference upset the top teams. And we'll get to a significant Big 12 result in a minute. Mohamed Bamba of Texas put up 24 points. He'll be a lottery pick in the draft next year, by the way. Nick Wheeler-Bob of Iowa State put up 15. I said Ohio State by mistake before. That's the team I want to get to next. The number 13th team in the country. They defeated Nebraska by a score of 64-59. Ohio State improves to 18-4, undefeated in the conference, by the way. And Nebraska is now 14-8. Keanu Bates Diop of Ohio State put up 20, and James Palmer Jr. put up 34 for Nebraska. Ohio State making a nice resume, and they'll probably be a top 4 seed in the tournament if they keep this up. Michigan State got by Illinois by a score of 87-74. Michigan State's number 6 in the country. I predicted this result on my podcast, as well as Ohio State's win over Nebraska. Illinois drops to 10-11. Miles Bridges of Michigan State put up a great game, 31 points, and Kipper Nichols of Illinois put up 27. Michigan State's probably headed for a top 3 seed. Kansas State beat Baylor by a score of 90-83. That's a game I incorrectly picked. I said Baylor would win, but I was wrong. Baylor drops to 12-8. Kansas State improves to 15-5. Baylor's might be headed to the NIT if, as of now, but that could change if they get a couple big wins in conference. Kansas State improves to 15-5. Barry Brown of Kansas State had a great game, 34 points, and Manu Lecomte of Baylor had 18. TCU beat West Virginia by a score of 82-73. West Virginia is 7th in the country. They're 16-4 now, as TCU improves to 15-5. TCU is probably going to make the tournament. West Virginia probably going to drop from the rankings. They're in the top 10 right now. We'll see how they do this weekend, and we'll see how the rankings shake up. But I think West Virginia is fine. TCU, much needed win for them. Alex Robinson of the Horned Frogs put up 17, and Javon Carter of West Virginia put up 16. Tuesday's results. Arkansas defeated Georgia by a score of 80-77 in double overtime. at Georgia, too. Very impressive win for Arkansas to improve to 14-6. Georgia drops to 12-7. Arkansas probably in the picture for net large right now as Georgia is between the bubble and the NIT. Darrell Macon of Arkansas put up 25, and Yante Maton of Georgia put up 26. The best team in the country, number 1 ranked Villanova, defeated Providence by a score of 89-69. I had Villanova in my podcast, but I did pick Georgia, and I picked West Virginia to beat TCU, so I went 5-2 with my picks for Monday night. Villanova now improves to 19-1. Like I said, clearly the best team in the country. Eric Paschal of Villanova put up 17, and Rodney Bullock of Providence put up 16 as Providence drops to 14-7. They're either comfortably in, like as a 10 or 11 right now, or a bubble. Number 2, Virginia defeated number 18, Clemson, by a score of 61-36. That's a very impressive win for the second best team in the country. Virginia improves to 19-1 as Clemson drops to 16-4. I think Clemson's fine. Gabe DeVoe had 11 points. Devon Hall of Virginia had 14 points. Iowa defeated Wisconsin by a score of 85-67. I did not pick that game on my podcast, but it's worth noting that both of these teams are likely to miss out on the tournament. Wisconsin's been a very big disappointment this season. And by the way, I did predict Virginia to win on my podcast. Number 22, Tennessee defeated Vanderbilt 67-62, and I did have Tennessee in that game. Jordan Bowden of Tennessee put up 19, and Riley LaChance of Vanderbilt put up 25. Vanderbilt drops to 7-13. Tennessee improves to 14-5. Tennessee has a nice-looking resume. Vanderbilt's probably the worst team in the SEC. Number 12, Oklahoma defeated number 5, Kansas by a score of 85-80. Great win for Oklahoma. They improved to 15-4. Kansas drops to 16-4. Trae Young, 26 points. Good bounce-back game for him. And for Kansas, Svyatoslav Milichuk put up 24. And Oklahoma closed the game on an 8-0 run, led by Young. And that was probably the marquee game of the night. Number 14, Texas Tech defeated Oklahoma State by a score of 75-70. I predicted both Oklahoma and Texas Tech to win on the podcast. Texas Tech improves to 16-4, and Oklahoma State drops to 13-7. Jeffrey Carroll of Oklahoma State put up 16. Keenan Evans of Texas Tech put up 26. Oklahoma's probably between comfortably and at large or bubble right now in terms of the tournament. Bad loss for the Crimson Tide of Alabama as they lost in Oxford against Ole Miss by a score of 78-66, and I picked Alabama on the podcast. So that's a whiff. Alabama drops to 13-7. Ole Miss drops to 11-9. Alabama probably on the bubble right now. Ole Miss I don't think is getting in the tournament. Probably the NIT for them. DeAndre Burnett of Ole Miss put up 24, and Dante Hall of Alabama put up 14. Creighton defeated St. John's by a score of 68-63. Creighton needed that game. They improved to 16-5, comfortably in the tournament picture. For me, Marcus Foster put up 24. Justin Simon of St. John's put up 17. St. John's falls below 500. They dropped to 10-11. If Marcus Lovett didn't get hurt, St. John's, I think, would be a different team in this conference. And maybe in that large conversation team, they'd be, because they did really well outside the conference, and Lovett is their best player, and he's lost for the season. So it's a little what if to the Big East this season. Number 4, Duke defeated Wake Forest by a score of 84-70. I predicted that on my podcast. Duke improves to 18-2. Wake Forest drops to 8-12. Wendell Carter Jr. of Duke put up 23 points, and Darrell Moore of Wake put up 18. Duke's one of the best teams in college basketball. I think they're headed for a 1 seed. Northwestern defeated Minnesota in Minneapolis by a score of 77-69. I picked Minnesota on the podcast. I whiffed. Northwestern improves to 13-9. Minnesota drops to 14-9. Both of these teams are bubble teams right now. Vic Law of Northwestern put up 18-8. Mason of Minnesota put up 25. LSU defeated Texas A&M by a score of 77-65. I picked LSU on the podcast, and they improved to 12-7 as Texas A&M drops to 13-7. These are both bubble teams. Robert Williams of A&M put up 21, as well as Duop Breath of LSU. Kentucky defeated Mississippi State by a score of 78-65 in a game that Kentucky absolutely had the win. They improved to 15-5. Mississippi State drops to 14-6. I still think Mississippi State can make the tournament. Kentucky is probably going to get in this no matter what happens. They would have to drop a couple weird games. Even if they lose Saturday, West Virginia, I think Kentucky will be okay. They just have to win these games at home or against weaker SEC opponents like a Vanderbilt or something, or like an Ole Miss potentially down the road if Ole Miss falls apart. Quindary Weatherspoon put up 19 for Mississippi State, and P.J. Washington put up 22 for Kentucky. And a couple things I want to get to. So that's 15-6 between all my picks from the last podcast, which included NBA and college hoops. College hoops picks for Wednesday or tonight and Thursday coming up right now. You have number 8 Xavier hosting Marquette. I think Xavier wins that game. Marquette, bubble team. Won't be shocked if Marquette gives them a game, but I'm going to say Xavier by double digits. Florida State hosts Georgia Tech. Give me Florida State at home. They need that one. Syracuse hosts Boston College. That's a big game. Both of these teams, I think, are on the bubble. Give me Syracuse and Jim Boeheim at home. Nebraska goes to Rutgers. Nebraska needs this game to keep their slim at-large hopes alive after they're getting some big wins over Michigan and Illinois. But I think Rutgers beats them. Rutgers is favored. So give me Rutgers, and Nebraska's chances of an at-large take a hit. 20th ranked Florida hosts South Carolina. Give me the Gators at home. And that would hurt South Carolina's at-large chances. Rhode Island, number 24th ranked in the country, goes to Fordham. Rhode Island's now ranked, and they, like I said, I pick all games involving ranked teams and games that I think are significant between some unranked teams that have chances to get in as at-larges. So give me Rhode Island on the road here. Fordham's not one of the good teams in the A-10, and Rhode Island's one of the more underrated teams in college basketball, and they deserve that 24 next to their name. So give me the Rams to win in the Bronx tonight. Miami hosts Louisville. That's a big game in the ACC. Both of these teams I think are comfortably in anyway. Miami needs this one more. They're home. Give me the Canes in their home building. Georgetown, 13-6, hosts DePaul. Give me Georgetown at home. Georgetown's in the conversation for an at-large. Pat Ewing deserves a lot of credit in his first season. He got a couple Big East wins under his belt, and I think he gets one here as well to improve their chances as an at-large contender. NC State is in a tricky spot. They go to Pitt. Pitt's terrible, but I think Pitt covers the 9.5, but give me NC State to win in Pittsburgh. Number 19, Auburn travels to Missouri. Give me Missouri here. It's not an upset. Missouri's favored by 1.5, but Missouri needs this game to improve their large chances. So give me them to knock off Auburn. Number 9 ranked Cincinnati hosts Temple. Cincinnati's awesome. Arguably the best team in the American Athletic Conference, although Wichita State has a case as well. Give me Cincinnati at home. USC hosts Stanford. USC badly needs this game to improve their at-large chances, and I think they'll get it. And last for the games for tonight that I have to pick, number 23 ranked Nevada goes to Wyoming. I think it's a tricky spot for Nevada, but I think they get the win here to improve the 19-3. Tomorrow, you have a couple big games that I want to get to. Number 3, Purdue hosts number 25, Michigan. This is a big game in the Big Ten. I think Michigan will hang around, but Purdue's just a better team, so give me the Boilermakers at home. SMU goes to UConn. SMU needs this game to improve their at-large chances, so give me Tim Jankovic and the Mustangs to get a much-needed road win at UConn. UConn's been one of the bigger disappointments this season in college basketball because many thought that that was a sleeper in the American Athletic Conference. Number 13, Ohio State hosts Penn State. Give me Ohio State at home to remain unbeaten in the Big Ten, as Penn State's at-large chances will take a hit. Number 11, Arizona hosts Colorado. Give me Arizona at home. Colorado's at-large chances are going down the drain as well. Number 17, Wichita State hosts UCF. UCF's better than expected this season, but give me Wichita State to win here. Wichita State dropped to 17 after losing to Houston last weekend. Wichita is much better than that 17 next to their name. Arizona State, number 21 in the country, hosts Utah. Give me Arizona State in a game that they have to have at home. Utah could use this game to improve their at-large hopes, but I think Utah's headed to the NIT. So give me Arizona State. UCLA hosts Cal. UCLA needs this game badly. Cal's the worst team in the Pac-12, so give me UCLA at home. And you have number 16, St. Mary's hosting BYU. That's a decent game in the West Coast Conference. BYU's probably the third best team in that conference behind Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Give me St. Mary's at home in a close one. And number 15, Gonzaga goes to Portland. Portland's not a good team in the WCC. Gonzaga wins comfortably there on the road. NBA news yesterday, the Milwaukee Bucks fired Jason Kidd. And a lot of people were surprised by this move, as was I. The Bucks have underachieved this season. They were the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference when Kidd was let go. And right now, they sit in 7th in the Eastern Conference after their win yesterday. And there's some candidates out there that could replace Kidd. Obviously, Joe Prunty is the intern coach. He's trying to get that removed. I don't think he'll get that removed, even if the Bucks. So I don't see the Bucks making the Eastern Conference Finals, but even if they make the second round, I don't see him getting the intern tag removed because I think the Bucks front office expected them to be a top team in the Eastern Conference, and they're not one of those teams. And I think the media overrated the Bucks before the season because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is excellent, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the talent around him isn't playing up to potential. Although Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton are nice players. Jabari Parker coming back from injury soon. So that's a team to watch. Other candidates for this job. Someone throw out Rick Pitino's name out there. I don't see Pitino going back into coaching, let alone anytime soon. I don't think Pitino is going to be a coach ever again. I could be wrong. Jeff Van Gundy's name's thrown in the mix, but the thing with Jeff is that he's turned down the chance to coach the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns and the Pelicans with Anthony Davis. And I've been hearing some rumblings that if he wanted to go back into coaching, it'd only be for the Knicks. I don't know how true that is, but I could see it being true because Jeff loves New York and the Knicks fans embrace him. And has the respect here in New York. So, and it's another coach that's possibly going to lose his job is Jeff Hornacek, although the Knicks, in my opinion, have overachieved this season. But that said, I don't see Jeff going back in the coaching. The only way I could see it is with New York. Or Houston, only because he lives in Houston. But I don't see Houston canning Mike D'Antoni because they've been good the last couple of years. Mark Jackson's an interesting candidate. He's been out of the job for a couple years now. He was obviously fired after the 2013-14 season, replaced by Steve Kerr, and the Warriors have been the best team in the NBA since Steve Kerr went there. And he would be an interesting guy to lead the way for the Bucks. And the other name I'm hearing linked to this job is Monty Williams, the ex-coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. He's been wanting to get back into work. He's been working in the Spurs front office, but I'm not that big of a Monty fan. But if I'm the Bucks, I think the Bucks are going to go for a big name, kind of like what they did with Jason Kidd. But then Jason Kidd lost his job. But we'll see what happens there. And I heard that Giannis Antetokounmpo was really sad that Kidd was let go. They were very close. I saw Ramona Shelburne of ESPN report that. So that's something to watch. And last but not least, I just watched the court case of the former United States gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar in the sexual assault case. And he got sentenced for 175 years. That's a strong sentence, but it had to happen. What he did was absolutely a disgrace to those girls. And I loved the judge. She made some interesting quotes in there. And she said it was a privilege to sentence his case. That's it for today. I'll be doing another podcast on Friday to go over a college basketball picks for the weekend, my NBA picks for the weekend, maybe talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, and anything else that happens throughout the week. I might come out with the podcast tomorrow to talk about the NBA trade deadline that's supposed to come up in 2 weeks, and do my top 100 players in the NBA, and maybe I'll do a trade value thing too, and rank the 100 players based on trade value. But I might come out with a podcast tomorrow and rank the top 100 NBA players right now. Have a nice day, everybody.